Alright, MrSotko here, and welcome back to another Steel Division replay cast. Today it is a 1 vs 1 on Pointe Du Hoc between two allied players. Local Festival will be our blue player with the 15th Scottish Infantry, and ZhukoDim, our red player, with the 3rd US Armored. So allies versus allies, going to speed it up to the 10x mark. All the units come out, all the good stuff starts to happen. And I will put a link in the description below of the video for a replay website. So if you play a really good game, prefer 1 vs 1s, but if you play a really good game, put my name in the replay and then upload it to that site. And that will get my attention, and I will check out that replay. If it's really good, then I will cast it and put it back online. So it's just like a cycle of replays and replay cast, and always good times. So it will be interesting with allies versus allies. So likely a bunch of 6-pounders and 57s versus each other here. And we'll put it back down to the 1 speed. Not much going to the left here for Local Festival. Looks like a 6-pounder and maybe an HMG behind that versus the M4 Sherman and the M3 half-track. So we'll keep an eye on that, and lots of stuff going to the right for Local Festival, but not too much for Zuko, so it's totally one-sided there. I guess not necessarily one-sided, but more even, I suppose. An eye for an eye. And looks like there is an AVRE in the mix here as a 2-star veteran with that rifle leader behind it. Only 600-meter range on the AVRE, but 30 HE power. So this AVRE is going to have to get way up there. And the battle has begun. Scouts and the Universal Carrier are now firing it out with the half-track. And meanwhile, on the left here, the M4 is danger close to the Vickers and the 6-pounder. And some reason the 6-pounder not firing. Looks like it does have sight, so that is interesting. And right now, Zuko winning the game here with this edge on the left side of the map. And a Honey Stewart way on the back there, a little bit lost. And 3-star Universal Carrier there, very interesting. And on the way, it looks like maybe a 57 for the allies there, and an M3, or rather for the US, as they are technically both allies. And 6-pounder watching the area over here. Not much happening at all. No pushes whatsoever. And that AVRE getting danger close to those rifles. And we'll soon wreck them out of that house. Should it get close enough. And it looks like it is in range by now. It is. And starting to fire now. Pretty much killed 9 infantry in 1 shot. That's the AVRE for you. 15 frontal armor, but just lacking any kind of range. Rifles insta-gibbed by the AVRE and machine gun fire. And now the scouts have been spotted. AVRE winding up. And looks like they just barely got out of vision as they proceeded back through the field. And looks like Local Festival is brewing up a push on the right side here. Some more infantry moving on up. And there really isn't much to stop it over here. Just an M3 half-track and the rifles. Although these scouts here could move over and possibly this M3 half-track. But it looks like it would have to go all the way through the road there. So not much at all on that side. And now the left side has been dominated by Zuko. Still winning the game at 207 points. Universal Carrier moving in on the armed rifle, should be able to spot them shortly. And now moving out of the hedge line there to prevent the pin. And half-track there with vision on the 6-pounder, but 6-pounder firing away. And falling back, they bailed out, loses the half-track. Not too big of a loss there, but that 50 cal is always good to have around. And Rifles peppering up that 57 there, forcing that out of the way, but the half-track and Rifles coming around the corner. But a Honey Stewart there watching the road, and should be able to destroy this half-track here shortly, as long as it can make the mark, but it seems to be missing. Must be a bunch of newbies inside. Apparently they didn't go to boot camp, but that's okay. Not everybody can be a Honey Stewart ace. And still missing that M3 half-track. Very, very lucky crew. And Rifles moving up even further now, but against, well, the Scouts moving up against Rifles. And unfortunately, the number is not adding up here. Maybe RE getting close. And insta-pins those Rifles. AVRE at the moment just too good. US 57's not enough to deal with this AVRE frontal. And even the side armor is still 10. So still somewhat of a challenge, even for the 57 at 11 AP. And Spitfire coming on in here, must spot a target. 57 targeted. And did kill a man from that squad, but not even gonna shoo it away. So Spitfire will fall back. 50 cal from the Sherman there. Pissing it off just a little bit. But it will be back for vengeance shortly. Vickers MG will suppress the Rifles shortly. Resisting pretty well, though, considering Rifles and an MG on them at the same time. And AVRE still pushing it. And 57 hitting the AVRE over and over here from a distance. And AVRE's 600 meters not gonna be enough. And looks like it's just out of the range of 600. 600 is right about here-ish. With the 57 with its 1,000 meters, forcing the AVRE back. At this distance, not really going to be able to penetrate the front, but if that AVRE gets too close at 600 meters, it may do the job. And this Sherman over here could actually push over this way, actually get that AVRE from behind, as there's not really much here, so it would be free to do that. And Spitfire coming in once again, and spots that 57. And see if we can take out another man. Nope. Spitfire gonna beeline out of there. Maybe it just lost vision. Stewart taking some pepper there from the Spitfire, but shakes it off. Not too big of a deal. And Honey Stewart moving forward. And Honey Stewart could probably take a couple shots at that M5, but Command M5 does a little bit more AP power. And now the air power pushing down on the Americans. And M4 still being a problem over here. And Honey Stewart was trying to take care of the situation, but not really going to happen with the Sherman there. As long as its frontal armor faced towards that Stewart, should be just fine. Now a Mustang cruising on in, going after the Spitfires. Spitfires versus Mustang. And both of them will chase it down together. I was hoping to get a better view out of that, but oh well. And both Spitfires falling back, but they did succeed in taking down that Mustang, so all worth it. AVRE danger close to the bazookas. And we'll have to watch out for that. Does have insane amounts of armor, but infantry anti-tank weapons in this game are pretty good. Just a matter of getting close enough to use them. And 6-pounder going to be in a little bit of trouble here. Going to make it right to the edge and get spotted. AVRE takes out the scouts with a few simple shots from the machine gun, from the coax. And now local festival starting to develop some points here. 49 to 383. So red currently winning. Number Mark III moving on in. Some more infantry ready to go. Not much artillery this game, which is somewhat surprising, as Steel Division is pretty notorious so far for mass artillery and mortars. Usually more so in team games, 1 versus 1, not so much. More about all taking that ground with troops equally pushing across. And this side right here needs to be taken by local festival, or ZhukoDim needs to push forward, which he could with this M4, as there's really not that much here to stop him. Another Honey Stewart on this side could hit it in the side armor, but otherwise not going to be a big deal for this double star M4 here with the leader around it. And now a bunch of units clustered a little too close. Jumbo now on the way. And even more units now pushing close. Unfortunately, all too bunched up. 1 or 2 mortars here would force all of this back. And now ZhukoDim pushing hard through the middle, going fast too with that Stewart. Taking a lot of ground as he goes, but this may close in on him soon. These units here will keep it open at the very least. I'm guessing this will be taken out sooner or later. The Spitfire's going after the Sherman here, but failed to push it back. I'll have to give it one more go around. And they should be able to cause it fall back. Gonna bring up an anti-tank gun here, and actually gonna go after the 57. Does take that out. Very nice with the with the fighters. And now 17-pounders out on the field, and this Sherman no match for the 17-pounder as long as 17-pounder decides to fire sooner or later. And looks like it's turning around now. Should be able to spot that. Don't think it's too far. It might just be slightly too far. So now pushing that forward. And Festival still all balled up here. All of his units losing morale. And a huge gap in the line has been pushed forward. And a Challenger and a Stewart now on the way. And are now going after the M5 Stewart. So many Stewarts, variants of Stewarts. Sherman and the Stewart going at it. 17-pounder finishes it off. And just a leader now left. And as soon as that leader is spotted, all of this territory will be back in the hands of Festival. Area cut off here in the middle now as the units push forward. And so this is a dead giveaway of where these units are at. You know, the Challenger and the Stewart on the way to take care of it. I'll actually speed this up to the 2 mark. And as the Jumbo is pushing down the line here, the 17-pounder definitely needed in the center, but it will take forever to actually walk that up there. So really the only thing that's going to take out that jumbo is this 17-pounder, but even still, we'll need to be actually pretty close to it or hit it in the side to actually take care of it. 21 frontal armor on the jumbo. Which I'm actually casting this on patch day for the 2 new divisions and 2 new maps. And the one division containing the King Tiger. And the King Tiger actually has less armor than the Jumbo, which I'm not actually sure if that's historically accurate. I don't believe it is. So I don't know why the Jumbo actually has 21 frontal armor. I know it was a Sherman with an inch of steel sort of welded to the front of it, so it actually has quite a bit more armor, but an inch of steel still isn't really all that much, considering 88 millimeters shooting at you and 90 millimeters and such. I certainly would want to be in a tank with an inch of extra armor rather than not. However, I'm not sure. Actually, I have to look that up. I will look up the exact stats of the frontal armor of the King Tiger versus the Sherman Jumbo. I don't believe it adds up, but I could be wrong. I studied geography and not military history, which I suppose is a little bit of both. Geography kind of covers everything, history and, you know, sociology, all that sort of thing, but I digress. AVRE still kicking ass here, and now firing point blank at the troops, and unit's crew knocked out of the AVRE. AVRE taking a beating here. And AVRE starting to get a little bit low on ammunition. Still has 19 rounds left, not too big of a deal. And that HE pummeling that Jumbo, but just not really going to be enough. Shooter has been knocked out and is just taking a savage beating from each other here, but nobody can actually kill each other, really. As the Jumbo only does 11, and the AVRE is 15. However, they are pretty close to each other, so I'm guessing this Jumbo should be able to take it out sooner or later. Wolverine now up front here. Still only 13 AP against that Jumbo, so the Wolverine's not really going to cut it. And that 17-pounder is moving up the right side here pretty quickly. There is a 76mm gun sitting in the wood line to watch out for. And that command M5 is bailing. It still has not been taken care of. Churchill 7 moving up the center line. And another Jumbo is moving into the action. And fighters now. One Spitfire has been taken out, and the Mustang's doing good work there. Now one less fighter down to deal with. AVRE still in the battle, and we'll soon run out of ammo. 14 still good to go for a little while. Actually, last time I checked it had 19, so it hasn't even fired that many times. And another shot there hits the Jumbo. Crew knocked around a little bit, but they are doing okay. Command M5 still in the center, and now firing at the rear armor of the Wolverine. And Wolverine's firing forward, so they are in a little bit of trouble here. Command Churchill and the Challenger should be spotting this and seeing what's going on here. Zuko at 603, local festival at 340. Now starting to take some territory there. Stewart finally taken out and gains his territory back. Scouts up front here should be spotted by the trucks moving in, although its stealth might hold it there. And Jumbo still firing away at the Wolverine and AVRE, but not really gonna cut it. Actually took out the Wolverine there, as it only has 8 armor. And for anybody that doesn't know, anybody sort of watching this, maybe trying to figure out the game just a little bit, that's always a good thing. The way the armor values work is that they really won't penetrate each other at max range. So all the numbers you see are pretty much for maximum range. So the Jumbo has 11 armor, so if it's, or 11 AP, so if it's firing at something with 15 armor, it's almost never going to penetrate at frontal. But if it's about halfway to the target and not necessarily at maximum range, it actually could penetrate. So that's the way Wargame works. That's the way Steel Division works. So the closer you are to your target, the more damage you will actually do to it, which does make sense as the kinetic energy, you know, slowing down, speeding up, sort of thing. So muzzle velocity, of course, is always better at closer range. So even though this has, the AVRE has 15 armor, the Jumbo could actually pretty much just drive right up to it, to its face, as this only does HE damage, and the Jumbo isn't really going to take much damage from the HE, especially considering it has 21 armor. So the Jumbo could essentially just drive right up to it, fire in its face, and then actually kill it, regardless of its armor being higher. That's because of the range. So there was my little range rant for you guys that I'll probably say like 5 or 6 more times throughout my replay casting experience. And we'll speed it up again as the action has lulled down a little bit. Jumbo's now moving forward here, and this is exactly what he needs to do, just move these Jumbos forward. There is a Challenger there that they have to watch out for, but still 21 armor to 17 AP, they should be okay for a little bit. Jumbos try all they may, unable to take out this AVRE, and that AVRE it's gotta look like Swiss cheese by now. Tons of fighters in the air for Zuko, all firing down, and 2 Spitfires lost there, and 1 Spitfire trying to get away here. We'll lose this Spitfire as well, I imagine. No, it looks like it actually did get away, but even still, a loss of 2 Spitfires is quite a bit, and Zuko's Mustangs are everywhere now. Could actually start using these to just simply pick off little bits of infantry all over the place. I don't think there's going to be too much more resistance from local festival, at least in the air. He really can't have too many more planes left, I'd imagine. Looks like the AVRE was finally taken out. And I imagine those Jumbos did a number on it, but the AP ammo from this Jumbo is actually depleted completely, so it can no longer fire on tanks. So it does have to back up, and they do need to get a supply vehicle in there, as that Jumbo is nearly worthless at the moment, although it can still fire on infantry with its HE, and still does have its coax, or its main gun there, or rather top gun. Not really sure of where all of the machine guns are on the Sherman, and there's almost certainly one on top, coax gun, and one for the driver, so essentially 2 machine guns still remain, and HE rounds. And Festival doing pretty well so far, 693 to 603, past his ally, or his opponent, and I kind of want to call them allies because they're actually both playing allied forces. And still no supply vehicle coming up. He might not even have one in the deck. Sometimes people just don't have them because sometimes you don't need them, depending. In a 1-versus-1 situation, you might not, but in this one, he certainly does. Starting to run out of ammo on this Jumbo as well. Took so many shots and so much ammo to take out that AVRE that they are actually low. And now the 76 is moving on up as well. And looks like we got a Piat crew moving on up, but they have to watch themselves as this road is completely lethal at the moment. And we'll speed it up one more time here. And M16 half-track there needs to be taken out. And looks like Honey Stewart's going to be moving around the wood line there. And Mustang's out and about, flying around, having a good time, doing circles. All the stuff that Mustangs do. And Honey Stewart took out a half-track here, but Honey Stewart's going to run right into a Jumbo, and that is not going to be too good. And now Zuko is pushing back on Festival. And a ton of half-tracks here moving forward. Now that regained by Zuko. Pulsed in here for some anti-air, as there are so many fighters in the sky at the moment, and I think Local Festival has lost all of his. I think he might have 1 remaining, but 1 by itself. is not so useful when you have 4 fighters opposing you in the air, so he'll have to wait till those actually either go away or he can take them out or something. And we have a tank buster here moving on in. And gonna hit that Stuart, takes that out. And without any resistance at all, Polston fired on it once, but that was about it. Another one is moving up in the Willies. And speaking of Willies, I had a friend back home that had a Willys, and boy, that thing was crazy. Very ancient looking piece of equipment, but it sure is a good truck. Polston gonna be firing on the M3 half track getting all jacked up. So with the Polston, no, M16 firing back as well. And the right side completely taken, almost to the edge. And now Zuko will get the victory here shortly. And pushed right down the line. 2 jumbos pushing down the right as well. 1 jumbo in the center. And a couple Piats waiting to try and take out the jumbos, but unfortunately they have to get within 200 meters, which is not very easy to do. So essentially has to be, you can actually see the lines there, and the second line out would be 200 meters, I believe. So very, very close. Crocodile moving up the left side here, and this is a pretty good choice for the left side, as there's just really rifles up here and some half tracks, and the Crocodile can fire, of course, its 75mm gun and the flamethrower. So it should be able to push through no problem at the moment. 15 frontal armor. The Mustangs could probably try and bust it, or rather force it back. They probably will not be able to kill it. And the anti-air not doing too good against all of those vehicles, or all of the Mustangs rather. And Scout's still chilling in that line. That's a great place for Scouts, as it cannot be seen very well. All the roads just go right around them. And now Wolverine pushing forward here. And Wolverine's going to push right into rifles with a bazooka. And this Wolverine might not make it. No, they surrendered just before that Wolverine probably was about to take a hit. And now Wolverine cruising up the line. Jumbo there. Could maybe hit it in the side if he just pushes forward, and that's what he's going to try and do here. And nope, just going to let it sit. And right now he probably could actually one-shot that Jumbo if he just pushes forward just a little bit, as that Jumbo's a little occupied with all of these units over here. And Challenger will try and stop some units as well. Jumbo and Challenger going toe-to-toe directly in front of each other. And the Wolverine one-shots that Jumbo as it was faced the other way, so did exactly what I wanted to happen. However, this 76 got in the way, and now here come the Mustangs trying to go after the Challenger, trying to make it fall back, and that way at least it won't attack the Jumbo. Jumbo will now try and chase it down, and Mustang's trying to pelt that Challenger down, but they just don't have what it takes to do that. And 17-pounder and Challenger right in the face of the Jumbo. And Jumbo gets shreked to the face by that 17-pounder. And Challenger still alive, still in scared Challenger mode and backing up. There it goes. Looks like it regains its cool. And a local festival could take this and push right up the right side, as there is not much left here. It looks like there's one more Jumbo, another M4A3 Sherman here, ready to move up. But with those 2 Jumbos gone, that is quite a sigh of relief, as they're just so hard to take down. They're not particularly dangerous, but it's just so hard to take them down. Either have to be really close to them and fire on their frontal armor that way, or you must hit them in the side, as the Wolverine did over here. And that's always easier said than done. Another Crocodile here moving on up. Don't know what happened to the first one. Could be the same one. I kind of doubt it. And Zuko now pushing deep on the left. A couple M5 or no, one M5 and one M4 pushing up here. So Stewart and a Sherman pushing forward against the Humber and the Crocodile. Humber not going to be able to do too much, just a 15mm gun. Although that is a very fun unit to use, a 15mm gun. So fun. Really pins units pretty quickly. Faster fire rate than the 20mm, but always good. Mustangs moving on in, and what is their target? Maybe the Challenger here, or the 17-pounder. Looks like the 17-pounder finishes that off, and that's a pretty big loss there for local, as that 17-pounder was pretty much what was stopping anything from moving forward at the moment. Challenger there as well, but 17-pounders are scary. Crocodile ready to move forward here. 15 frontal armor gets that 10 AP of the Sherman. And Crocodile should be able to make this happen, carrying a whole mess of fuel behind it. Could explode any time, but they take up the job. It must be a horrible job. Probably stinks so bad when they fire the flamethrower. It's like, hey, you get to be this flamethrower guy and carry this massive amount of fiery fuel behind you. Like, oh, great. Hey, great. Like, don't worry, it's really armored, though. You'll be alright. 2 Thunderbolts coming in, going after the Challenger. And both fail to finish it off. And local festival still behind. Zuko ahead of the game here, nearly at 1,600 points. And I'd like to see some stuff just cruise up that side. There is a M5 Stewart, though, but not too much to handle. And these Mustangs really prevailed in the end. For a while there, it was the Spitfires of local festival who were doing pretty well. But there are just so many Mustangs on the field here. I wonder if how many this guy actually has in his deck. Maybe 6. I think he lost 1 or 2 throughout the game. And still obviously has 4 left. And now Crocodile up front here. And that is GG. Leaving Zuko our winner by a minor victory. And local festival unfortunately lost this game, but both played pretty well. And like I said, there is a replay website. I will have that in the description of the video. If you guys have a great replay, upload it to that site and put my name in it, and that really draws my attention. I see MrSotko, so then I download the replay and I check it out. If it's a good replay, I will cast it. But I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will see you guys next time.